Okay, so once again, very good afternoon, and so we will continue in the today's session with our uh, transport layer reliable protocol. So far, what we have done, we have understood the reliable protocol design process. Means, so we have designed a reliable protocol. What are the basic requirements which we need to capture in the reliable protocol, so that we have seen in terms of packet corruption, dealing with the packet corruption, dealing with the packet losses. And then two popular reliable data transfer protocols that we understood, that is selective repeat and the go back N. So now one, you can say the commercial or you can say that in real world protocol which is used in the internet, that is the transmission control protocol. So this protocol we will start today, means how the TCP provides the reliability. So we will understand the TCP protocol from the point of view, that is because as we know that TCP is a connection oriented protocol, and that connection orientation is used for providing the reliability. So we'll see the first how the connection is established between the client and server, or between two endpoints which are communicating and wants a reliable data transfer service. Then we'll discuss the TCP segment structure. So you know that the packet in general we call as a packet. So the packet is um, the term which is used at a transport layer to identify or to say to packet is a segment. We call as a segment here. And the reliable data transfer operation we will understand from the TCP point of view, how the TCP is doing, and then we'll see that okay, how it is related to the go back end and selective repeat, whether it is which approach it is following, right? And in the subsequent lectures we'll see the other features or the provided by the TCP. So first we'll just look at that. Okay, what so TCP, there are a lot of requests for comment. It is based on a lot of RFCs. So these are the few RFCs which are listed here based on that. So these RFCs defines the TCP protocol. You can say the basic the TCP protocol, how it should be implemented if someone is implementing. So a standard is maintained across all uh, the implement all implementers should follow the same standard and the same semantics basically. So means compatibility will be there, right? So TCP is a point-to-point protocol, means one sender and one receiver. Means by default TCP at a TCP level, means we transport layer, we TCP just provide a point-to-point communication only. So other forms of the communication means one to many or many to many, that is not supported by the TCP. Then this protocol is reliable in order byte stream it provides. Okay, so this is important. More on this I will cover in the subsequent slides. So byte stream is a important point here. So in order byte stream we can send from the sender to the receiver. So that's why if you remember the socket which we created for the TCP, that socket we called as a stream socket, right? TCP and UDP socket we call as a datagram socket. So one meaning of this byte stream is that there is no message bound. It's not like that okay, this one message ends here and second message start from this point onwards. So the TCP data transfer is looks like a continuous, you can say the byte stream is there. So byte by byte data is like this, the byte 8 bits are there. So continuous byte stream is going. There is no message boundary. At a TCP level it is there. Message boundary is there at an application layer, right? Then pipelined it's a pipeline protocol. We know that, okay, stop and wait is not good in terms of the utilization. So any real world protocol should follow the pipelined approach, means a window amount of packets or window amount of bytes can be sent without receiving an acknowledgement from the receiver. So you can say there are more than one or there are some number of bytes which are in flight at a time. And this window, what is the size of the window? What window currently will be there? This window size is decided by based on the congestion and the flow control. So these two terms we will discuss separately because they are itself as a um, big topics. So flow control is basically for, let us say, between sender and receiver. Sender should not overwhelm the receiver. That also is one of the aspect of the reliability. Means I should not send more than the you can say the capacity of the receiver. Because what can happen due to that, if my sending rate is more, means the receiver is receiving at a higher rate, then it can process the data, receiver side machine. So what happened due to that, maybe the buffer will be overflow, which is receiver has kept for receiving the bytes, and due to overflow the bytes will be lost, and then these needs to be retransmitted again. So to avoid that, there is a flow control concept is used, right? So for that purpose, there are certain things that needs to be that needs to be that decided at a sender and the receiver level. Then congestion is another important aspect, because congestion is not something which is occurs at endpoints. Congestion occurs in the network. So a TCP takes a implicit feedback from the network, and based on that, it detect the congestion, and then based on that it decides the what should be the window size at this moment. So window size, if I say my window size is currently, let us say 10,000 bytes. So 10,000 bytes window size means what? Means 10,000 bytes can be sent by the sender with without waiting for any acknowledgement. I mean 10,000 bytes I can send. I don't require any, means I don't have to wait for the acknowledgement. After that, some of the bytes should be acknowledged, then only I can slide the window. That is the meaning of keeping window size as a 10,000 bytes. So more the window size is there, means more the bytes can, in-flight bytes can be there, and that ultimately going to increase my utilization. So I'm utilizing my network bandwidth more efficiently. But that should window size should change according to the congestion level in the network. If the congestion is less, then I should send more data. If the congestion is more, then I should send less data, because due to the congestion, data can be lost as well within the network. Because network is congested, some of the bytes can drop, some of the segments can drop. Then TCP provides the full duplex data, so bidirectional data flow can be there in the same connection. Means both sides can send the data to each other, and it's a connection oriented. So before start transferring the data, the handshaking process is used, that we will see in the next slide. So in that they exchange some control messages. So the handshaking process, this you can say is a kind of a overhead with respect to the connection-less protocols. So connection-less protocol means there is no handshaking required. Whenever I have a data, I start sending the data. Means there is no initial beginning, the no handshaking happens. But connection oriented, first handshaking happens, and then after that data transfer starts. And obviously this is required for the reliability, to ensure the reliability. Then flow control. So already we have seen that, okay, sender should not overwhelm the receiver. So that means sender cannot send at a rate at which it can send, and without considering the receiver's current situation, that how much data receiver can receive. Okay, so these are all about the basic features, means what TCP provides. Now first we will see the segment structure, TCP segment structure. So in TCP segment, you know that at each layer in internet, there is a header fields are there, and that header fields are according to the each layer, the separate fields are there, and these header fields helps basically in terms of uh, uh, doing that required operation by that layer. So say for example, in case of the TCP, what are the header fields are attached along with the data which is received from the application. So this is a 32-bit width, you assume. So port number is a 16-bit source port number is attached along with each segment, and the 16-bit destination port number. So you can say using the 16-bit, I have 2 power 16 combinations are there. Similarly for the source port and destination port. So my port range is 0 to, you can say, 2 power 16 minus 1. That is the range in which the port numbers can be given. So that you have, I think you are already started socket programming. So in that you create you use a port number to associate that port number to the socket. Right? Then the sequence number field, this is a 32-bit field is there. Right? So 32-bit, so total range of the sequence number I can have 0 to 2 power 32 minus 1. In this range, the number can be generated. Now this sequence number here, we need to understand, this is again important thing. It is not a packet sequence number. So far we have talked about, like whenever I have explained the selective repeat reliable data transfer or go back and reliable data transfer, then we talk about packet 1 send, and then corresponding acknowledgement is coming, then packet 2 send, and then ACK2 is coming. Okay, so but in this TCP is not, as I said that, okay, it is not a packet oriented protocol, it is a byte oriented protocol, right? So the sequence numbers are corresponding to the byte, right? So for example, in this sequence number, there is a, for a given segment, the sequence number is 100, right? So if the sequence number 100 indicates that this segment's starting sequence number, starting byte sequence number is 100, means byte number 100 will be sent. Now, how many bytes are there? That will be decided by the total length, right? So the length field will contain, so you can say there is a header length is a separate, you can say field is there. So whatever the total size of the, you can say, segment minus the header length, right? Total size of the segment minus the header length, that will be the number of bytes there in the this segment, right? So means suppose is a 200 bytes are there in this segment. So the length, so it will calculate, okay, so starting sequence number of byte is 100. So the data is there 100 to, if the 200 bytes are there, 100 to 399. Sorry, 299. So these bytes are there in this segment. So what we need to remember is that the sequence number field indicates the starting byte of the segment, right? Starting so sequence, it is represent the sequence number of the first byte of the segment, you can say, right? And from the length we can figure out that, okay, how many up to from this starting sequence number to what is the last sequence number is there. More on this we will see when we'll consider few examples. Then acknowledgement number, again it gives the yeah, again it is a 32-bit number and it acknowledges the data. So say for example, in this case a segment is sent of starting sequence number 100 and having 200 bytes. So when this segment will be successfully received by the receiver, then receiver will send the acknowledgement, and that acknowledgement number will, in the acknowledgement segment, that also will be a complete segment, right? And this acknowledgement, the number which will be there, So that acknowledgement number field will contain 300. 300 indicates that the byte number 100, byte number up to the 299 is successfully received, and the 300 is the next byte which is expected byte at the receiver, right? So there is a difference actually. So far we had discussed in terms of the packet number, and then if I say packet 1 sent and then the acknowledgement 1, that represents that okay, packet 1 is successfully received, so that is indicated by this acknowledgement number. In terms of that, in case of the TCP, it is slightly different. Again, I am repeating, a segment with sequence number 100 is sent with the length of 200 bytes. So if this segment is successfully received by the receiver, then the corresponding acknowledgement generated by the receiver, that acknowledgement will contain the acknowledgement number as 300. So this indicates that up to 299 the bytes have been successfully received, and next expected byte is 300, right? So it is means the ACK-X, if I say simply X means X is the next expected byte by the receiver. Now you might have wondering that how means the, because ACK and data segment, how they are differentiated. So you can see whether it is acknowledgement or it's a data packet, okay, or even it can be both also. So whenever it means acknowledgement your sender is sending, or maybe means a receiver is sending, so acknowledgement field, there is a one flag. These are the 6 flags are there, you can see 1 bit flags are there. So A stand for the acknowledgement. So if this flag is 1, if A is 1, that means this is an acknowledgement. So A is 1, then the whosoever received this segment, it will look at, okay, the A is 1, this flag is 1, and then it will look at the acknowledgement number from here, okay. And sequence number, anyway, every segment will have the sequence number, right? So it needs to just see that whether it is also contains the acknowledgement, whether it is contains or not contained, that will be decided by this flag, 1 bit flag. If it is 0, then acknowledgement number is not there, some garbage value is there, you don't have to process this information. Okay, so now other fields, if you just quickly look at header length. Now header length is a 4-bit field is there. Now why header length is required? That means the header are not fixed. Source port is anyway must, destination port is must, 32-bit sequence number is must, acknowledgement field is also required. So these all fields up to, you can say here, up to here. So how much, what is the size of this header field? Total size up to here. How many bytes?
20 bytes.
It is 20 bytes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 lines are there. Each line is basically 4 bytes. So 20 byte is a, we say 20 byte is a compulsory header. 20 bytes is a compulsory header field. Now you can see there is an option field is also there. Options. Now option may or may not be there. So, so if their option field was not there, then we would not require this header length, because then we know that header is a fix. So why a separate field we should use it for? Unnecessary, it is a overhead actually. But due to that, this header length is the header length field is added into that, because the receiver should know that okay, from which byte onwards the data is starting. So that data, because header, that transport layer receiver, the receiver will remove the header field and buffer the data in its buffer, and then if it is in order, then it will be delivered to the application, right? So your receiver should know that okay, from which byte onwards the data is starting. So due to this variable field, we need to add this header length field, that will ultimately tells that exactly how many bytes are there in header, and after that the data part is starting, or application data is starting. Okay, option field. Now you may ask that option field is use of that. There are certain operation like um, uh, there is a one in a nowadays we use in the high, for high bandwidth links. window scaling is used. Uh, I will discuss this later, but yeah, window scaling is used. That scaling parameter means up to how many bits it will scale it. So that information, this kind of information which is not defined in the TCP, not defined by the any compulsory header in the TCP, that information can be exchanged in the options field, and so the sender and receiver can use that information, control information. Or maybe any future enhancement in the protocol without means uh, without, you can say, modifying the segment structure, that new feature can be implemented because this option field is there. So usually this option field is used for any new updation in the protocol, any upgradation. Otherwise, if you introduce a new field, suppose, then you need to change in the stack actually, right? So because that you need to parse that field information, and based on that, whatever processing you want, that needs to be carried out. So usually when you design a protocol, by keeping in future time, you say no, that okay, in some time maybe some minor modifications are required or some additional information we need to send, then this option field will be useful in such cases. Okay, so now we'll just look at other fields. Checksum, you know that a purpose of the checksum to detect the error in the packet. So internet checksum, as we UDP in we discuss, same fashion it is implemented. Receive window is a 16-bit field. This 16-bit field is decides that how many bytes the receiver is willing to receive, right? And it is basically, this field is used for the flow control. This field is used for the flow control. So when receiver is sending the acknowledgement of the data received from the sender, then that time it can put the information in the receive window that okay, my receiving capability is this much. Okay, so it's a 16-bit field, so it may be 500 bytes or 1000 bytes, because maximum number which can be represented is 65,535, right? So accordingly, a number can be set in that, and that indicates to the sender that okay, I should not send more than that, because otherwise receiver will be overwhelmed and its buffer will be overflow, and due to that packet data loss can happen. Come to the other fields like so acknowledgement, sorry, flag field. So 6-bit, one bit, 6 flags are there, and this 6, so 6 plus 4, 10. These 6 bits are unused actually. These bits can be used for any future enhancement in the protocol. So maybe some customize in some applications, this can be this field can be used, but we say that in the original TCP, these bits have been kept as an unused 6 bits. Now flag, we'll just quickly look at one by one. Acknowledgement flag we have already seen. This U is urgent data. Now this flag can be set by the application saying that okay, if some portion of the data in this segment is urgent, means application indicates that okay, this is urgent data, right? So urgent, first of the urgent flag need to be set. Once it is set, and then after that urgent data pointer, this data pointer is pointing, it is basically a byte address of the last byte of the urgent data, right? So in the entire segment, let us say okay, this is the last byte, so this last byte address will be is put here, and that indicates that okay, from starting from here to up to this byte is the urgent data. So that, let us say this is applications, means they mean one application is sending okay, this is urgent data. Now how this urgent data needs to be treated, that will decided by the other side of the application, right? It is not a transport layer's job. Transport layer is just sending this information set by the application to the remote application, one sender's application to the receiving application. Now how it needs to be interpreted and all these things, that is depends upon the application semantics. Okay, and other, if these flags we'll just look at urgent. So urgent flag is there. Now P is the push flag. Push flag also application can set, and that if a receiver receives a segment with the push flag set, then it is an indication to the this is given by the again it can be set by the application only, and this flag indicates that receiver should pass the data to the upper layer. Upper layer is in this case application. It should pass the data to the upper layer immediately. Right? So it may happen that okay, the data is buffered at the transport layer in buffer, and then maybe it is means it wait for some more data, and then in together it can send data, means a large chunk of data to the application. So that vary from the implementation to implementation how the receiver side buffer is implemented. So in case if it is a push flag is set by the application, then the transport layer will immediately immediately uh, give this data to the upper layer. So that is the meaning of push flag. Then R flag is a reset flag. So this reset flag is reset and this other flags like S for SYN flag and F for FIN flag. These reset, SYN, FIN, these flags are used when the connection establishment and connection tear down process, when connection has to be closed. So we will talk about these flags. I mean, they are when we will discuss the connection establishment and connection close process. So these flags are used that time. RST for the reset, SYN for the you can say synchronize, means basically handshaking when it is happening. FIN is the finish, means basically finishing the connection or closing the connection. Okay. So I think I have not missed out anything. So any quick question here? If you have something which I might have forgot, or maybe you have not understood clearly, you can ask. Otherwise, we can move to the next slide.
Excuse me, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, so like the urgent flag, when is it exactly used? Can you give an example?
Means application, like it depends upon the application. Let us say application is sending some data to the remote application, and that it wants that okay, the remote application should immediately process this data. So it want to give some means it say that okay, this data should be processed immediately. Maybe some real-time application might have some this kind of requirement. So
Sir,
immediately.
For example, we have a download manager and it lets us select the thing we are downloading and give it higher priority. So does that use urgent bit? Like when it is set as highest priority, then that bit should be processed first.
So basically it is an application, application level, means it's application level stuff. Means urgent means it is not that like a transport layer is considering needs to urgent or something. Urgent data means some, I mean say some setting or some application level functionality which is it wants from the remote side to immediately react on that and send some reply back to the sender. So right now I'm not able to recollect any such example with respect to the application, but this is the purpose actually. Means
Thank you,
how it
sir.
can be used. Okay, that needs to be maybe we can get some specific example from the application, but right now I'm not able to recollect anything from some application, which application, because it is internal to the application. So means unless we don't know the application exactly internal structure of application, we cannot say that this has been implemented using the urgent flag or something.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. So let us move to the. So yeah, any question?
Sir, how do we know the beginning of the urgent data?
So beginning is always in that case the first byte of the data. So the application will send first that okay in the that segment, application will in that chunk of data it will send okay from starting from this segment, means till this urgent pointer, right? That data, entire data is urgent data. So you can say that that data it will put as a first part of the chunk, and then the remaining data it will send.
Yes, sir. Thanks.
right? So that's why, because otherwise we require actually 2 pointer. You can see that why it has been implemented like this, because if I say, okay, urgent data can be placed anywhere in the segment, then what will happen that I need 2 information, starting and ending. So that will increase my overhead, because this 20 bytes header which you are talking about, there basically it is an overhead actually. Suppose application is sending only, suppose say 10 bytes of data, right? So, but the 20 byte header will always go with that. Even a 1 byte data also, in worst case, 1 byte application level data is there that is sent by the transport layer sender. The 20 byte header is compulsory for that. So header we want to minimize as minimum as possible uh, without compromising with the reliability or any other feature which it provides. So just one, we can survive with the 1 pointer, or we can just help with the 1 pointer we can implement this feature that, okay, yeah, any urgent data, if application wants to communicate to the other side, remote side, then this protocol provides that feature and with a minimal overhead. Only thing is that, okay, it means then data should be placed at the beginning of the segment, correct? Okay, so now come to the means the sequence number. I already spoken about the sequence number, that okay, the sequence number is not a packet or segment sequence number, it's a byte sequence number, right? So let us say this is outgoing segment from the sender. So outgoing segment will contain the sequence number, source port, destination port, checksum, receive window, urgent pointer if it is set by the based on the flag setting here, and these fields anyway will be there, right? So as I said, TCP views data as a stream of bytes, and sequence number reflects a stream of transmitted bytes, not the segments. And the sequence number which is uh, entered, or you can say which is added into the sequence number field of the segment, is represents the byte stream number of the first byte in the segment, right? And this is a corresponding, you can say, acknowledgement of that. In that, the acknowledgement flag will be enabled, or it says flag is set, and then the acknowledgement number will be processed by the receiver, and based on that it will figure out that uh, whether the bytes have been received or which byte it is acknowledging. So this is a typical window scenario at a sender side. So sender have a means for a given window size of n, and you know that how the window size is decided. Window size is decided based on the 2 parameters. One is a flow control, other is a congestion control. So right now we don't know, little bit we know about the flow control. So it is basically that decides that how many bytes I can send without receiving an acknowledgement, means how many data at a time I can send it, right, in a single shot. So that number is decided by this window size, and window size is how much is a window size, and it's not fixed always, right? Like in SR and go back and we say, okay, four packet window size is there. So there's a basic protocol. So we have this way also somebody can make the protocol, but this TCP is not considering the window size as a fixed window size. It varies for a given connection time to time, right? How it varies, that we'll learn in the subsequent lectures. So at any given point of time, you may have these green are something, these bytes have been sent and these bytes have been acknowledged also. And this yellow is that yellow portion is representing these bytes have been sent by the sender, but still acknowledgement is not received. So that's why you can see the starting from here, these already acknowledged, so that's gone from the buffer actually. And blue is something that is next byte which I can send, and I can send up to here, because up to the window size only I can send. After that, at least I should receive some of the acknowledgement should come, then only I can shift this window, let us say from here to somewhere here. If I receive these many bytes acknowledged, if these bytes have been acknowledged, then they will be, according to this diagram, they will be converted into green, and I will be able to send this, some of the brown bytes, these brown bars will be converted into blue, and this brown is indicating that that is currently cannot be sent. So like that, I have a continuous sequence number, byte sequence number is there, right? Same like window-based protocol, pipeline protocol that we have discussed in with respect to the SR and Go backend. Okay, so now let us means establish the connection, and then after that we can see that how the reliable data transfer works in the TCP. Okay, so before that, before establishing the, or okay, let me first establish the connection, and then I will talk about one another thing I want to talk about. What is a maximum segment size? How the maximum segment size can be decided? Okay, so you just keep it this in your mind. If I forget, please let remember me. So I will. MSS means what is the how the size of the, is there any maximum size restriction, that amount of data which can be sent, right? In the TCP. MSS stand for the maximum segment size. Segment size. So I will come to this point later. So first let us establish the connection. Now before exchanging the data, as I said, the handshaking is required. So handshaking means what things are decided in handshaking, basically agreeing on some of the connection parameters, like what will be the starting sequence number. It is not necessary that always a new connection start with a sequence number 0 only. That is not good, means from several point of view. From the security point of view also it is not good. So any random number, any connection, TCP connection can be started with any random number between 0 to 2 power 32 minus 1. In this range, any number can be used for the starting a connection. Means from that number onwards, the bytes will be start sending. And you know that it will be modulus 232 power 32, means sequence number will be go over a modulus 2 power 32. So starting sequence number, but the sender needs to communicate, means if the full duplex communication is there, both sides should first tell that, okay, what will be the starting number byte which I am going to send, right? So sequence number, they exchange the sequence number client to server and server to client. Receive buffer size is set at a server and client both. So these information even are exchanged during the connection establishment process at both sides. And this we do by creating the socket. When you create a socket and attach that socket to, so this is a socket creation, attach that socket to appropriate port, and then in the connection establishment process, these connection variables are set at both sides. And now we'll say that, okay, my connection is there. So now we see that, okay, how many means messages are must to, you can say, for the establishing the connection, or for what kind of handshaking is required. So one example is, it's a two-way handshake. So two-way handshake means it is something like that. As a we also suppose between the human being also, if I want to talk to you, then I'm, let us say, sending that, okay, let's talk. Okay, in TCP basically these messages are different, means but okay, in normal way we'll understand, and then we'll with respect to the TCP we'll understand. So let's talk, and then other side says, okay, yes, okay, fine, we can talk. So that's a connection established. So now we can, now both sides will start talking, and then they will exchange the information with each other. So is it sufficient in case of the means for the computers or the in internet, the two-way handshaking is good enough to say that yes, both sides know that, okay, there is a connection is there between us, and then we are receiving, we may receive some data over that. So it is something like requesting the connection and then the acknowledging, or you can say the connection. So connection is stable. Both sides are aware of each other. Basically, the purpose of this is that both sides are aware. It's not that, okay, I send before means talking to you, I start talking something. In that case, you might have missed something. You say, oh, I didn't get your first sentence because I was not aware that, okay, you are sending me something or you are telling me something, right? So in the normal way also it happens in this way. So is it the two-way handshaking is enough in case of the computers? Human being looks that it's enough. I say something, then okay, you reply that, okay, yes, we can talk, then it's done. Yes, anybody wants to respond? So human being, it is not enough. What can happen? Actually, suppose I send this, right? And let us say this has received this packet, whatever the means information I have sent. Now, the reply, this reply can be, because my network is not, underlying channel is not reliable. So the packet can be dropped. If this reply is dropped, then what will happen? This sender will not come to know that whether means the remote side the other this person have received my request or not. I'm not sure about that. Or if I have so that is if so the second message now this, and also the sender is also don't know that whether the second message have been received or not. So if the second message is not received, then in that case means let us say this is A and this is B. So A will not be sure that okay, what would have happened, whether my message has been received or not. If it is received successfully, then one guarantee is there. A can say that yes, B has received my thing and he has acknowledged it also. So that means but so this is guarantee. But what about that how the B will come to know? B is not sure that whether A has received my acknowledgement or not, right? So one more message if is received from this, that can give guarantee that okay, whatever I have said, that is also received by the, so whatever B has sent, that is received by the A. Now means both parties are knowing, it is guarantee that okay, both parties have received the sufficient communication to know that there is some data transfer is going between both of us, right? So that's why two-way handshaking is not enough. So we require three-way handshaking, right? So this is called as a popular TCP three-way handshake process. So what is these three in terms of the TCP? What are these three-way or three messages are there? So very first time when the client, suppose this is a client and this is a server. So initially client is creating a socket and listening on attach that socket to the port, and then it send the initial sequence number, random sequence number X, and send the TCP SYN message. Now SYN, how it will send? There is a SYN flag, if you remember. So the SYN flag is set as a 1. So SYN bit is set as a 1, and with the initial sequence number, it will send to the server. Now through that, server will come to know that okay, what is the starting sequence number is there. And in this message, there is no data, right? It's just a control message. Once the server receive this thing, then server will choose its initial sequence number. Let us say it is Y, means the server will communicate the data and send the TCP SYN-ACK. So in this SYN-ACK, basically SYN flag and the ACK flag both are set to 1. So it is indicating that okay, this is a acknowledgement to the SYN packet. And initial sequence number, I mean, is acknowledgement number, it will send it, that is X plus 1, which is indicating up to X I have received, and X plus 1 is next expected from your side, right? So here at a server, the connection is basically established, means half established you can say, because here up to this point, server is not sure that okay, whether my communication has been gone to the client or not, because that might be lost or maybe delayed or something. If reply is not coming, then server may initiate SYN-ACK again after some time, right? So once let us assume that okay, it is all these packets are successfully received. So now if the client is received this thing SYN-ACK, then this indicates to the client that okay, server is live actually, right? And send the acknowledgement of that. This acknowledgement is indicating to the server that okay, client is also live. Now at this point, both parties are sure that okay, we know each other and we have informed each other sufficiently, and now we can, whatever we will send it, that will be means uh, reliably received, right? So you can say the here once after this third acknowledgement, or you can say third packet is received, then the server side connection will be considered as an established. And client side connection is established when the client receive the CNAC and then initiating the acknowledgement. Because here client is confirmed that okay, server is live. So means now client to server connection is pakka. And once the server received this acknowledgement, then the server knows that okay, from me to client is connection is also confirmed. So both knows each other and both connections are established at this point. So this is a three-way handshaking. Now we'll just few examples we'll see that based on whatever we have discussed so far.
Excuse me, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, in the previous slide, what if the third message is lost?
So the third message is lost, then according to this means that connection will not be established, right? So third message is lost, then what happened? The server will send the CNAC again after timeout because it is waiting for the acknowledgement, right? So let us say this is, so here it will wait for some time, a timeout will be set, and if the timeout occur, then it will send the CNAC again, right? And that is received, and then corresponding acknowledgement comes, then only it will consider that okay, is established, connection established.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Okay. So now we'll just based on our, so in today's session what we have discussed based on that. So now I think you need to based on that, these examples we'll discuss in next 5 minutes and then we'll close the session. So let us say host A and host B. Okay, one more thing you need to understand, it's in a TCP, from the TCP point of view, it is not required that okay, one should be client and other should be server kind of thing. There is no distinct, you can say differentiation or distinguishing between the two endpoints. From the TCP's point of view, it provides a point-to-point communication basically. Now these 2 points are, one is a client and other is a server. That is application layer notion actually, right? So that you can say that information is additional information which is at application level have the meaningful, like web browser is a client and the web server is a server, right? So you can say client to server communication. So applications are basically client server semantics they follow. TCP level, it is a kind of a 2 endpoints are communicating, that's all. So that's why we are saying simply 2 endpoints, host A, host B, they are communicating. Now client server, any peer-to-peer or that additional information is attached by the application, or that's at application level it has a meaning basically. Otherwise transport layer there is no such meaning is there. So let us say connection, initial connection has been established, and after that, okay, one more thing I want to tell you that when this client is sending this final acknowledgement, along with that it can also send the data also. It can be simple ACK packet without any data, or it can be ACK plus data also. In case of ACK plus data, we called as a piggyback mechanism, piggybacking or piggyback. So data also can be sent with this third acknowledgement. You can say third packet of the connection establishment. Okay, now come to here. Now let's say after 3-way handshake happens, and now this is the next sequence byte it is sending. So sequence number 92 it is sending. What initial sequence number is there, that already during the connection establishment they have exchanged that, right? So it is sending 8 bytes of data in that. So if this packet is successfully received by the host B, then host B will send the acknowledgement what? 100. 100 means indicating 99 bytes have been successfully received. And then it is sending this, so ACK 100. Now let us say this ACK 100 which is sent by the host B is somewhere dropped. And so the TCP, what it will do, TCP once it will send, this is only you can say outstanding packet at present. So it will start the timer for that. TCP also use just one timer, that is for it runs for the most outstanding you can say segment, most outstanding segment. If the multiple segments are in flight there, then the segment which have been sent which is the most which has been sent first, that for the oldest segment you can say, oldest segment timer will run for the older segment only. So because it is lost, then the timeout will occur, then it will send it again, same data it will send. And then once so now here if it is receiving, because in receiver side, if you just look at 92 sequence number, it was expecting, and this 92 sequence number already received here actually, right? 93 to 99, right? And it sent the acknowledgement as a ACK 100, means it is expecting sequence number 100, and this sequence number is byte sequence number. Now here what will happen here, the next expected byte for the receiver is basically it is expecting 100, and here again it is receiving a duplicate packet actually, that is starting from 92. So it will say 92 sequence with 8 byte, it is already there. So it will not buff this packet, it will discard, and it will send the acknowledgement saying that I am waiting for 100 onwards. Next, this is example for the premature timeout. Say for example, 2 segments have been sent. So first segment and the second. So first is going from 92 to 99 and 100 onwards next with the 20 bytes. So the sequence number in this case is 92 to 99 bytes are going. I'm just writing for easy understanding. And so, or maybe I can do here. So 92. So first segment receive up to 99. Second segment starting from 100 and going into 119. And next it is expecting is 120. So 120 is expected. This is received. Sorry. Yeah, both are received. So this is also received. So here first one received and here the second one is received. So now these two it received, and let us say it is, so once this received, then it's an ACK 100, and once second one is received, then it is sending ACK 120. ACK 120 indicates that up to 119 received and 120 I am expecting. So it's a cumulative acknowledgement actually. ACK 120 indicates cumulative acknowledgement. Now these two acknowledgements arrived at the host A after the timeout occur of segment 92. The segment which is sent starting byte was 92. Because only one timer runs, so at present only this is the oldest packet. So timer was running and first timeout will occur this only. After its timeout occur, then it will send retransmit only this segment. So when it is retransmitting, then what happen? Receiver will already have received this thing. Receiver is saying, okay, it is a duplicate. Okay, so receiver will generate ACK 120 from here. You say that, okay, I'm waiting for 120, right? So when the sender will receive 120, then sender also will change his send base to 120. So before that, sender base was there actually where 100. That 92 I have sent, and it is up to 99, 100. So actually it has sent the 100 onwards, 100, 120, 119. So the next byte to be sent, that pointer is at 120, and this acknowledgement, first acknowledgement have confirmed. First acknowledgement has confirmed that okay, these bytes have been successfully received. So it will send base, it will move from 92 to 100. Initially it was at 92, then make it 92 to 100. When it received the second acknowledgement, then it will change the send base from here to here. That okay, up to 119 have been acknowledged. Now next I will set 120. Now at this point there is no outstanding packet, means the send base and the next byte to be sent are at a same point. This is next byte to be sent and this is a send base. Both are at a 1, pointing to 120, 120 only. Okay, so after this, if it is means after timeout occur, then it is sending this retransmitting this packet, and the reply of this is coming 120. So okay, 120 is again means redundant information only. It will simply discard. There is no updation happens at a sender side. So this is an example of if the timeout occur before the acknowledgement, actual original acknowledgement arrives. So then the protocol works in this way. Okay, one more example we just look at. This is a cumulative acknowledgement example. So first segment send and second segment send. Timeout is running, timer is running for this first segment. Let us say the first segment acknowledgement sent by the host B, that acknowledgement is lost. Okay, fine. And still the timeout is not occur at the host A, because once host A will wait for the timeout to occur, then only it will retransmit it. So host A is supposed to retransmit this packet here. If till this point the acknowledgement for the segment number 92 is not received. But before that, the second packet acknowledgement arrived, second segment's acknowledgement arrives, and that acknowledgement indicating that okay, up to 120 is up to 119 is successfully received, 119 bytes. So 92 to 100, 99, and then 100 to 119. These two segments have been received. So fine. So it is, that's why it is sending ACK 120. So in order, whatever number of bytes have been received, always it is in TCP receiver always acknowledge that in order how many bytes have been received. So it's a cumulative acknowledgement. So you can see even this acknowledgement is lost, but the subsequent acknowledgement arrived before the timeout occurs for the lost acknowledgement segment. So the retransmission is not required in this case. The sender will update and say that okay, yes, up to 120 I have everything acknowledged, up to 119, sorry, and 120 is next. That's something you're to be starting from that. So you can say your send base will be at 120, that okay, we'll send as a 120. Right, so here it will send sequence number 120, and now next segment it is sending 15 bytes. So 120 to 15. So this is, let us say 120. So 15 bytes. So what acknowledgement it will send in this case? What will be the ACK number? One 135. Okay. So now we'll stop here. Based on these 3-4 examples which we have discussed. Okay, I just go back. Lost ACK scenario, premature timeout, and cumulative acknowledgement. Can you tell that this which reliable data transfer protocol is used by the TCP? Is it based on GBN or SR? Which it is following?
Is it SR, sir? Because we are not sending all.
So definitely SR, because there is no, the one thing is that the cumulative acknowledgements are there. So cumulative acknowledgement is a feature of GBN. Cumulative acknowledgement is feature of GBN. So if you just go here, sorry. So if you answer these questions, then we can come out of that. So first is out of order segments are individually acknowledged. TCP means buffer the out of order segments, right? So buffering of out of order segments, and so if what happened that okay, suppose I receive up to here, and then up to here, this is missed, and then this segment is received. These bytes are suppose 92 to 99 received, 100 to 120 not received, 121 to 134 is received. So in this case, it will send the acknowledgement. If suppose when this segment will be received with the starting byte sequence number 120 to 134, then it will send ACK 100. This will indicate this is the next byte I am expecting, next in order byte I am expecting. So out of order packets are stored, but individual acknowledgement is not sent. So out of order packets are stored means it is according to SR, right? but individual acknowledgements are not sent. So it is according to, so that feature is from, or that functionality is, or that characteristic is from GBN. ACKs are cumulative. Yes, it is a cumulative. So this is a GBN feature. How many timers are maintained by the sender? Only one timer is maintained. So according to this, it is GBN. GBN maintain one timer only. Selective repeat, if you remember, in SR, we have multiple timers. Suppose I have 4 segments outstanding, so 4 timers will run. TCP is receiving out of order segment. Yes, it is receiving out of order segment. So according to this, it is a SR. So now you tell me, it is neither purely SR nor the GBN. So it is a mix of SR and GBN. So TCP follows mix of SR plus GBN. Okay, so we'll continue from this point onwards. Means we'll if you have doubts related to that, we'll take one example, and then with the help of that I will explain all the this thing, that okay, if out of order packet received, then what happen in order packet. But yeah, mostly it is covered through the examples, but still if you have any question, we will take it up in the next class. So now let me know if you have any quick questions. I can take few questions.